3811. Carter Page was not a Russian agent. The charges against Paul Manafort have nothing to do with Trump or the Trump campaign. Lieutenant General Mike Flynn was set up by the FBI a second time. Wow, what a case these guys are building. What a case. The Manafort issues are many, many years old. There's not a single U.S. attorney in the country who brought any charges against him, and I don't know how Mr. Mueller missed all this when he was the director of the FBI for 10, 12 years. Actually, I think it was 12 years, it turned out. And so much of this lawlessness occurred. I want to turn to the Washington Post, or as I correctly call it, the Washington Compost. My buddy Oliver North used to call it that. Somebody named James Hohmann, Hohmann. The title of his piece is Former Trump Campaign Advisor Carter Page denied allegations of being a Russian agent while admitting he informally advised Kremlin officials in the past. So, the big idea, he writes, the truth gets lost in the tweets. If you repeat a falsehood enough times, many people will believe it. Wow, that's very good. Now he's quoting inaccurately, but nonetheless Goebbels. Very good, Mr. Hohmann. Special if you have 53.2 million Twitter followers, the bully pulpit of the presidency, and some media outlets that uncritically repeat your false claims. It's been 503 days since President Trump falsely claimed that he had just found out Barack Obama ordered his wires tapped in Trump Tower before the 2016 election. This is McCarthyism, Trump tweeted. This is Nixon Watergate. Now, this has been addressed, 4,000 times? But let's go on. The astonishing accusation caught White House aides off guard, who scrambled on a Saturday to figure out what he was talking about. They discovered that right-wing pundit Mark Levin. Now, you have Bernie Sanders out there. They don't ever call him left-wing. You've got this 28-year-old out there. They don't ever call him, left-wing. None of the Democrats, none of the, not left, but Mark is right-wing. Now, I'm a constitutionalist, right? I'm a conservative. They dare not say that. It's that right-wing pundit. What is right-wing? You support the Constitution? But let's go on. This is just the smear tactics of the Washington Compost and this fool James Hohmann. They discovered that right-wing pundit Mark Levin had made the claim without evidence on his radio show. I never made the claim that Obama ordered Trump's wires tapped. I've only said this repeatedly. I've written comments about this. I speak on the radio about it, on TV about it. I never used that language. But they can't help it. And so the big lie, Mr. Hohmann, is from you, the big liar. Breitbart, then at the zenith of its influence, highlighted Levin's comments. Someone placed a printout of their article in Trump's reading pile. And presto, a conspiracy theory from the fever swamps, now we're the fever swamps, was injected into the national conversation. I stand by every damn thing I said. And you know why, you clown? Because I got it from your colleagues. Your colleagues. It wasn't a conspiracy theory. 8 separate news articles, quote unquote, including from the New York Times. 8 of them. 8 exhibits. Now, which cut is this, Mr. Producer? As I recall, I'm trying to find it. It's cut 1. Okay? Are you there? Steve, are you there?
The evidence is overwhelming.
Hold on. I didn't call for it yet. I want to make sure you're alive and well because I didn't hear you. Now, I want to respond by playing what I said. Cut 1, go.
The evidence is overwhelming. This is not about President Trump's tweeting. This is about the Obama administration's spying. And the question isn't whether it's spied. We know they went to the FISA court twice. The question...
All right, stop. Now, we know they went to the FISA court twice. How did I know that? Did Mr. Comey leak it to me through his professor friend? No. Did the former deputy director of the FBI leak it to me through one of his folks? No. About Stroker Pay? No. Well, how did I know? The media reported it. That's how I know. Go ahead.
Extent of the spying. That is, the Trump campaign, the Trump transition, Trump surrogates. And I want to walk you through this, the American people.
And by the way, since then, we've learned there was an FBI informant, 4 different FISA applications, an original one with 3 extensions. And this left-wing conspiracy clown, dressed up as a journalist, contributor to the Washington Post, still doesn't get it. Go ahead.
1. Exhibit 1. This is all public. Head Street. 2 separate sources.
Stop. Head Street. A news website. Go.
With links to the counterintelligence community have confirmed that the FBI sought and was granted a Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act court. This is spying. In October, giving counterintelligence permission to examine the activity of, quote, U.S. persons in Donald Trump's campaign with ties to Russia.
Wow. Pretty accurate. They had pretty decent information, just a little off, but pretty accurate. And I read it. Go ahead.
Go on. This isn't me. They say the first FISA request, sources say, named Trump, was denied back in June, denied by the court. Mm-hmm. But the second was drawn more narrowly and was granted in October after evidence was presented of a server possibly related to the Trump campaign and its alleged links to 2 banks. Now, sources suggest that a FISA warrant was granted to look at the full content of emails and other related documents that may concern U.S. persons.
Now let's stop there. The vast majority of the information in the FISA application that's been released has been redacted. That is blacked out. So I'm reading from this news article from this news site that got information probably leaked from these top officials at the FBI. Is that a right-wing conspiracy? Go ahead.
Hung up with Trump's word wiretapping. Well, how'd they get access to this server information? Does it really matter if it was wiretapping, electronic surveillance, or whatever it was? Exhibit 2.
See, this reporter never even listened to what I said. Never went back and even listened to what I said. Go ahead.
In a well-known right-wing British paper. Here it is.
All right, so stop. I'm reading now from The Guardian. The Guardian. Go ahead.
It was learned the FBI applied for a warrant from the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court over the summer in order to monitor 4 members of the Trump team suspected of...
Now, let's stop. That's 2 media sources that say there was another request in the summer before the October one. We still don't have any information about that other than what these reports say. But these are news reports. Mr. Hohmann, or whatever the hell your name is, go ahead.
Other contacts with Russian officials. Keep in mind, this is during a presidential election. The sitting president, the incumbent party, is now investigating the presidential candidate of the Republican Party and his campaign.
And that is exactly what took place, and it's exactly what's still taking place. And the media are schizophrenic. On the one hand, they pretend it's not taking place. On the other hand, they're reporting it is taking place. Go ahead.
The FISA court turned down the application asking FBI counterintelligence investigators to narrow its focus. According to one report, the FBI was finally granted a warrant in October. Exhibit 3, McClatchy, another one.
McClatchy, a news organization. Go ahead.
Right-wing newspaper. Here they have the agencies. Headline, FBI, 5 other agencies. 5 other Obama administration agencies probe possible covert Kremlin aid to Trump. The FBI and 5 other law enforcement intelligence agencies have collaborated for months in an investigation into Russian attempts to influence the November election, including whether money from Kremlin covertly aided President...
So let's stop. So people at the FBI and the intelligence agencies at the top levels, no doubt, are leaking this information to the media. And we know they're leakers. They've been caught as leakers. But this information is being leaked to the media. They are sources for the media. They're not my sources. I didn't write these stories. It's just I put them together, one after another after. That's not right-wing. That's not a conspiracy. These are news stories. Go ahead.
Like Donald Trump, two people familiar with the matter said the agencies involved in the inquiry are the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the Justice Department, the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and representatives of the Director of the National Intelligence. Are you
So was McClatchy lying? Was The Guardian lying? Was Head Street lying? Are they right-wing? Are they not saying that the Trump campaign or individuals associated with the Trump campaign have been surveilled? That a number of Obama administration intelligence and FBI agencies are working on it? Do they not say that? Go ahead.
Barack Obama didn't know it was
Mark,
going on in six agencies.
As you
hold
go
on,
how are
you?
Okay, keep going.
I'm not done. I need to make the case because the media seems to be confused about their own reporting. New York Times, another well-known liberal outlet, intercepted Russian communications.
Hold on. The New York Times. Not me. The New York Times. Mr. Hohmann. Go ahead.
Into Trump associates, January 19. The FBI is leading the investigations, aided by the NSA, the CIA, Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Unit. The investigators have accelerated their efforts in recent weeks, but have found no conclusive evidence of wrongdoing. Listen to this. One official said intelligence reports based on some of the wiretap communications have been provided to the White House.
All right. Wow. I didn't make that up. That's a report in the New York Times. We all believe the New York Times, don't we? Given their incredible record, historical record of reporting the truth. So who are they investigating? They're investigating the Trump campaign. They use the word wiretaps. I didn't make it up. They use the word wiretaps. Go ahead.
This is the New York Times,
another right-wing outlet.
4.
Another right-wing outlet,
Let's continue. New York Times again.
Wait a minute. The New York Times. Wow. Go ahead.
NSA gets more latitude to share intercepted communications. In the final days of the Obama administration, the administration has expanded the power of the NSA.
Now, why is that important? Because it makes it easier to leak the information and harder to find the culprits, the perpetrators. Right, Mr. Hohmann, being an outstanding reporter, an analyst as you are, go ahead.
Share globally intercepted personal communications with the government's 16 other intelligence agencies before applying privacy protections. Now, why would they do this on the way out the door?
And why isn't Mr. Hohmann concerned about that? Not in the least. Not in the least. Why? Because he's a leftist, that's why. Go ahead.
March 1, Exhibit 6. Obama administration rushed to preserve intelligence of Russian election hacking.
Now, why did they do that? Why didn't they do something about it? That is, confront the Russians. Go ahead.
In the Obama administration's last days, listen to this, some White House officials scrambled to spread information about Russian efforts to undermine the presidential election and about possible contacts between associates of President-elect Trump and Russians.
Well, now see, been investigating Trump. They're rushing to get the information. They're spreading it around more broadly than before. I didn't make this up. I didn't make this. These are news reports. Go ahead.
Trust the government. I'm not done. Exhibit 7, New York Times. Flynn is said to have talked to Russians about sanctions Trump took office. Well, where'd they get this information? Well, Mark, the FISA court, they're always monitoring the Russian ambassador. And so how do we know that? Maybe they are, maybe they're not.
Now, we now know somebody leaked it. Probably at the FBI. These are felonies, by the way. Somebody leaked it. I didn't make that up. There it is in the New York Times. Go ahead.
A lot of other activity.
Sure.
Here we have Washington Post. One more. Washington Post.
Washington Post, Mr. Hohmann. I believe that's the pseudo-newspaper that pseudo-writers like you work for. Go ahead.
March 2nd. U.S. investigators have examined contacts Attorney General Sessions had with Russian officials during the time he was advising Donald Trump's campaign.
So Sessions was under investigation, too. Mr. Hohmann, You're a jackass. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.